University testing lab?
Yes, it is. Why don't you have a seat over there for a few minutes and we'll be right with you.
Subjects were asked to come to our lab to participate in a learning and memory experiment. I begin by explaining to them that the experiment has to do with learning and punishment.
And what we want to find out is the effects of punishment on learning.
The subjects draw lots to see which is the teacher and which is the learner.
I'm the learner. I'm the teacher.
The teacher helps me strap the learner into his chair.
This is to prevent excessive movement during shock. The teacher will be reading word pairs.
I explain to the learner that his task is to correctly remember word pairs given to him by the teacher. He is to press his choice on the control panel in front of him. His answer will appear on the answer box in the next room. If he chooses the wrong word, he will be punished with an electric shock.
Are you sure this isn't dangerous or anything?
Although the shocks may be extremely painful, there will be no permanent tissue damage. This machine generates electric shock. Whenever you press one of these buttons down, the learner gets a shock. And when you let it go, the shock stops.
To give the teacher an idea of what the shock is going to be like, he is given a sample shock. After the sample shock, I explain to the teacher that he is to read the list of word pairs one time all the way through.
Okay, ready? Begin.
Blue girl, nice day. Fat neck, green ink, rich boy, tame bear, sweet taste, true story. Okay, learner, we're gonna start. Blue, boy, girl, grass, hat. Correct. Nice, day, sky, job, chair. It's wrong. 15 volts. The right answer is girl. Excuse me, sir, how long do I hold the lever down?
That's for you to decide. You're the teacher.
Fat. Man, lady, tub, neck. Wrong. It's 30 volts. It's wrong. 120 volts. The right answer is hair. Cool. Day, shade, water, cave. Wrong. 135 volts. Wrong. 300 volts.
Should he continue to follow the directions of the experimenter and shock the learner with increasing severity, or refuse to obey and heed the pleas of the learner to stop?
The fascinating aspect about this experiment is that it is not an experiment on learning and punishment at all. This recreation of Dr. Stanley Milgram's famous research is really an experiment on obedience. The learner is my confederate, and he's not receiving any shocks. The true experiment tests the obedience of the teacher to see how long he will obey the experimenter. Psychologist Lawrence Kohlberg of Harvard has interviewed many of Milgram's subjects. With these data, as well as years of data collected from different age groups, religions, and cultures throughout the world, Kohlberg has advanced one of the most important theories of moral development. Kohlberg believes that there is a universal sequence of moral development, and that each person, the world over, develops his own degree of morality in the same consistent and unchanging ways. Dr. Kohlberg theorizes that there are 6 stages of moral development, and that these stages, as in most developmental theories, are age-related. Kohlberg determines the moral stage of an individual by examining why moral decisions were made, rather than what the decision was. Let's go back to the experiment and see how the subject reacts to the moral dilemma posed by the experiment. Afterwards, we'll see part of an interview with him to see how he justifies his moral decision.
New. House, pet, book name. What do I do, Doctor? There's no answer.
Consider no answer a wrong answer and continue the experiment.
Wrong. 315 volts. The right answer is book. Quiet, song, party, child, evening. Wrong. 330 volts. Cake, man, girl. Wrong, 450 volts.
Remember, it is the moral reasoning that determines the stage of moral development.
Look, the experiment was for me to shock the guy for giving a wrong answer. And that's what I did. I was only doing what you told me to do. I mean, you said to continue. I shocked the guy because he wasn't learning. If I'd stopped, I wouldn't have been doing what you said to do. I mean, I was supposed to do it. I had to do it. I mean,
His deference to my
I'm
authority
the boss, and I'm just
is having to do it because I told him to, regardless of the consequences of his actions,
You are the boss.
constitutes the thinking of stage 1.
Point
In stage 1 people, deference to an authority's reasoning
I mean, a boss
is coupled with deference to his superior power
and I take it.
and avoidance of punishment. Let's look at the next subject.
That's wrong. 90 volts. It was bird. Blunt. Knife. Stick. Word. Arrow. That's wrong. 105 volts. That's wrong. 210 volts. That's it.
Please continue.
Right. Cool. Boy, cake, man, girl. Wrong. 450 volts. I didn't have to shock him, but I was part of the experiment. I mean, that was the deal. I was paid to administer a shock to a guy when he made a mistake. I felt really bad about the other guy, but I had a job to do. And I made a deal to do it, and that's what I did. I think I did the job. I think I did what I was supposed to do, don't you?
People in the second stage of moral development, as he is,
Yeah,
usually exhibit this sense of fairness to some degree. But a more important factor in their moral reasoning is that their right behavior is dictated by the satisfaction of their own needs without regard for others. Living up to the deal he made with me was more important than the welfare of the learner. Kohlberg believes that moral development is characterized by movement to the higher levels. This movement is contingent on conflict. For example, in an argument between a stage 1 and a stage 2 child, the stage 1 child will be impelled to move towards the second stage because of conflict he experiences with his own point of view, while the stage 2 child understands but does not accept the moral reasoning of the stage 1 child and consequently experiences no conflict with his own moral reasoning. In this way, people tend to move to the next higher stage.
Look, I'm going to quit. I don't want to do this anymore. He's not saying anything. He might be hurt.
You have no other choice. You must continue.
Wrong. 420 volts. Wrong. 450 volts. Well, it really bothered me. I mean, that other guy was really getting hurt. But I figured, you know what you're doing. You're a psychologist. I mean, you're supposed to help people and not hurt them. This thing really has me freaked out. Now, you were there the whole time. You're a psychologist. And I know that this experiment has been done a lot before. And I'm sure that everybody had the same trouble that I had in shocking the guy. But if I had stopped, it would have ruined your experiment. Don't you see that?
The main factor in this subject's moral reasoning was his concern with disappointing me, the authority figure in this experiment. This overriding concern for pleasing others and seeking their approval through being nice characterizes the third stage of moral development. Children in this stage very often seek their parents' approval by being a good boy or a good girl. In both children and adults, Stage 3 is characterized in large part by conformity.
Each stage requires better cognitive organization and more sophisticated concepts of morality than the stage that preceded it. Let's see the next subject.
Wrong. 270 volts. Correct answer was nice. Wrong. 420 volts.
Wrong, 435 volts. Wrong, 450 volts.
Well, look, you told me what to do, right? And I did it. I mean, it's as simple as that. But, okay, I figure like you know what you're doing. Your PhD. And, I mean, it took a lot of self-control for me to do what I did, to shock a guy like that. So, this was sanctioned, I mean, you know, by the school, right?
This subject's moral reasoning is more authority-oriented than stage 3, and consistent with having respect for the social order and maintaining it for its own sake. His right behavior was doing his duty, and that's what he did. Kohlberg believes that most adult Americans, college students included, are in the levels of conformity, stages 3 and 4. The motivation for conformity at this stage is more internalized than it is at earlier stages. This is particularly noticeable in stage 4 children, who may make moral judgments even when no adult authority figure is around. Let's see the next subject, representative of stage 5.
Wrong, 270 volts. Are you sure he's all right?
As I said before, the shocks may be extremely painful, but they will cause no permanent physical damage.
The right answer is dance. Low, noise, cloud, bridge, voice. Wrong. 300 volts. Look, doctor, this is too much. When I make a commitment, I stick to it. You know what I mean? But this is really crazy. You know, I figured that this thing, as crazy as it was like good for mankind, you know? Good for society. You know, if he's hurt, you could get sued or something. Would you go check on the guy, man? Would you just go see if he's okay?
Do you want to come with me?
Before we discuss this subject's stage 5 reasoning, I want to point out that after the subjects finished the original experiment, Milgram was concerned that the teachers leave the lab in the proper frame of mind. Efforts were made to reduce the tensions that arose as a result of the experiment.
This subject is in the 5th stage of moral development. He experienced a great deal of inner conflict before deciding to stop. His moral reasoning stresses society's standards with a particular emphasis on the legal point of view. Kohlberg believes that in most cases, a person, adult or child, is halfway in one stage and partially in the 2 surrounding stages. This accounts for the inconsistency that we sometimes see in people's moral thinking. Let's look now at stage 6, Kohlberg's highest level.
Okay, let's begin. Blue. Boy, girl, grass, hat. Correct. All right. Nice. Day, sky, job, chair. Wrong. Wait a minute. I want to think about that a minute.
You must continue the experiment.
No, I don't think so. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if it screws up your experiment, but I'm not going to do it. I'll give you your money back. I know you probably got reasons why you want to do this, but I'm sorry. I don't see shocking somebody and, just for no reason except some kind of an experiment. You just can't do that. You can't go around shocking people and hurting people just because you have to get some kind of test results. You don't care about people. I can see that. They shouldn't allow people like you on the university. You have no right to do that. I don't care what experiment it is.
Let me explain.
This subject's moral reasoning resulted in his not even beginning to shock the learner. His reasoning was not based on society's standards, as the reasoning of the Stage 5 subject was. He is in Stage 6, what Kohlberg calls the universal ethical principle stage, where moral reasoning is based on personal conscience. His reasoning was in accord with self-chosen, abstract ethical principles, which stressed profound respect for human dignity and for life itself. This highly ethical stance, often coupled with a concern that these principles become universal throughout society, requires a level of reasoning that is difficult to attain. It takes the most highly developed cognitive organization and the most sophisticated concepts of morality to reason at a Stage 6 level. Needless to say, few adults ever attain it.